Welcome to Exactly Entertainment Episode 4. I'm Matthew Lyons,
I'm Derek Terrell.
and today we're going to start some fights. We're talking about unpopular opinions in film. Derek, what is your unpopular opinion?
That's right, Matt. We each selected one unpopular opinion. Now, Matt, you know this.
I do.
All my friends know this.
They
I'm a
do.
big advocate of the film Iron Man 3. I believe that Iron Man 3 is a top 5 MCU film, and I will cement that today. So that's my goal. Iron Man 3 is a top 5 MCU film. I see it gets a lot of hate, and I'm ready to defend it.
All right.
What
My
about you, Matt?
unpopular opinion is that Batman vs. Superman is an amazing movie. And not only that, I'd say it's better than at least 75% of the MCU. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second.
All right.
All right, Derek, tell us why Iron Man 3 is top 5 MCU.
All right. So, first of all, there's a few things about Iron Man 3 that may have affected public perception. First of all, this film came right off the back of the first Avengers team up movie. There was no way that whatever came after it was going to top what happened. And you see that with every Avengers movie. Ant-Man came after Age of Ultron. You had I believe Ant-Man and the Wasp after Infinity War, and then Spider-Man after Endgame. And you come off of these big things and people are expecting that to continue. Obviously, Iron Man 3 was never going to be the big blockbuster that the Avengers was,
Right.
especially because that was happening for the first time. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Another thing is the Mandarin twist. A lot of Iron Man's 3 hate can be directed towards the Mandarin twist and also Aldrich Killian as the villain, which I think he did great. Um, and I guess the third thing for me is, while a lot of people have their problems with this movie, I think the best part of it isn't talked about enough, and that is that Robert Downey Jr.'s acting in this as Tony Stark. I think he portrays Tony Stark best in this film, so that's the third thing that I'll be kind of going into. So
Interesting.
those are my kind of pillars here. Um, and then I'll also kind of wrap it up with some general things for me that makes the movie top 5, and I'll kind of go through that afterwards. What about you?
All right. Batman vs. Superman, like Iron Man 3, it gets a lot of hate. Um, I mean, it had a lot on its shoulders. The DCEU only had one movie, Man of Steel, and it had to have Batman vs. Superman fight, which was the title of the movie.
Right.
You had to introduce Batman, introduce the Justice League. It had a lot going on. But I friggin' love this movie. It's so good. The visuals are incredible. Zack Snyder is one of the best comic book, or he's definitely one of the most stylistic directors out there.
I'd agree with that.
There are so many frames of this movie that look not only like they came out of a comic book, but
Yes.
they're just so beautiful. The shot of Batman when Doomsday's beams are coming at him, and there's that brief hint of lightning in the sky that's ripped right out of the Dark Knight Returns novel.
Yeah, the shots are
So
so
good.
good on the rooftop with when it's raining and you have Batman and Superman up there.
Oh yeah, Batman's just
Yeah.
looking up.
Mm-hmm.
There's so I mean I could go on and on and on, which I might do a little bit later, but not right
Agreed.
now.
Yeah, I have a lot to talk about. Even like thinking about my little thesis there, how much I missed and how much I still want to talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, visuals, but not only that. Another thing I'm going to talk about is how original it is.
yeah,
One of the big, I don't want to say takeaways, but one of the big complaints about the MCU is that it follows a formula for like 90% of its movies. And I want to say that even though I think Batman vs Superman is better than probably most MCU movies, I love the MCU. Their formula, I mean, it makes sense, it works. So
it
I
ain't
mean, if
broke,
it
don't
ain't
fix
broke,
it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Another thing is the music. I don't care if you hated this film, you cannot deny the music in this movie kicks ass.
The Wonder Woman theme.
Wonder Woman's theme song.
Mm-hmm.
It's so badass. It's awesome. That, Lex Luthor's theme song, all the music. Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer did an amazing job with this soundtrack. Batman was the best part of the movie. Action was great. And yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
All right.
It's time for the
So
deep dive.
yeah, I'm before we go into that, I'm sure towards the end there's some things, there's problems I had with Batman v Superman, and I know there's problems that you had with Iron Man 3,
Right.
or maybe not even problems, but might disagree with me on reasons why I think it's great. Oh, maybe I think one thing makes it great, and you say, oh no, that's not that
That
crazy,
was my
mind
least
blowing.
favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so with Iron Man 3, I felt like a good place to start was the director. Um, as you know, Jon Favreau directed Iron Man 1 and 2, and Iron Man 3 is not directed by Jon Favreau.
No.
Did you know that?
Shane Black.
Correct. Shane Black. So Iron Man 3 isn't, you know, it definitely feels a lot different than the first two Iron Man movies because it's a Shane Black movie. And the journey that, it feels more of a Tony Stark movie than an Iron Man movie. And that is, I think, the key to my whole argument here. With some of the phase one movies, it was very much, the origin story was focused around the superhero. But I feel like finally in phase two, and you see it with Winter Soldier as well, is now that we have these established characters, we can explore them in ways that we haven't before. And I think Iron Man 3 is, that at its best. Um, until now, we've always seen Tony Stark as this overconfident, snarky, jerk kind of, but still charming in a way. And here, he's he has PTSD from what happened in the Avengers, and he's broken. And there's even a
That was
scene.
the exact word that I was just about to say, broken.
Yeah, he is, and he there's even a scene with Pepper really early on where he says he just kind of breaks down, and yeah, just to see that angle of the character and then see him throughout this movie, the journey back to him being not the same, but kind of new and different, was just really satisfying. This definitely could have been the end to Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man character. I'm glad it wasn't.
Right.
But yeah, so just to kind of break down the journey a little bit, Tony Stark at the beginning of the film is terrified. He's terrified that there's going to be another threat and he's not going to be able to stop it. So the way he kind of copes with that is he's not sleeping. He is just building Iron Man suit after Iron Man suit. We leave off with Mark 8 in the first Avengers movie. And not too long after that, we're now at Mark 42. So he's made quite a lot of Iron Man suits. From here, he eventually simply just turns on the TV. He can't sleep and he sees the Mandarin. Now, Tony is almost looking for a fight. He wants to stop what's coming. He doesn't know what that is yet, but he needs to do that. And he, starts to look into the Mandarin, what this is, and the Shane Black story here with him putting the puzzle together, I think is one of the coolest aspects of the movie. Um, Obviously, the Mandarin is completely fake. You have Aldrich Killian. He's using the Mandarin to cover up these bombings, and you see the effects of that throughout the whole film. I think that is such an interesting direction to go, and it would be amazing. But what makes it even better is that they take away Iron Man from Tony Stark in an amazing action set piece at the Malibu Mansion destruction. One of my favorite in the MCU. The mansion's destroyed, Iron Man flies away, and he's left with nothing. In the middle of a frozen forest with nothing, and nothing except an empty suit. So he drags it, and he meets a character that I am personally a big fan of, who is Harley. And the way that Tony and Harley are able to play off each other, especially like we talked about earlier at this part in Tony's life is such it works so well. The chemistry is so much there. And it was just executed very well. Um Tony without his suit was very interesting to explore. We have never seen anything like that. He always puts on the suit and goes to fight. So to see him, out of the suit, he's using his mind because we know Iron Man's superpower, he doesn't have superpowers, it's his mind. It's all the creative things he can do. So he goes to Home Depot at one point and he buys all these different things to make these gadgets. And, he has this list of items that he needs. And to see this Iron Man that's kind of desperate and like pushing his way along the story the best he can, even though he's facing a lot of challenges with very minimal resources. Remember, Iron Man always has all the resources because he's rich. So to see the same character with minimal resources push through this story mixed with the character development in there was just the perfect formula for me. And when you add that sense of mystery and that Shane Black movie in there, it just worked. So I will keep going, but what else do you think? Um, what do you think about what I've said so far? What do you agree with?
I agree with most of it. I loved Iron Man 3, and I haven't seen it probably in a few years, but I started rewatching it. I think it was last night. I didn't finish it, but there was a lot that I forgot about it. I
Yeah,
think it's the most adult of any of the MCU movies that have at that point in time,
I agree.
and it was really funny. Like it was
Oh, it's
really deep,
hilarious.
but it was hilarious. The dialogue, especially with Tony and Rhodes, the way like at the restaurant,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
it was
yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about with the little kid.
yeah.
And yeah, it's good.
I mean, I liked the Mandarin twist. I thought it was interesting,
Yeah,
and it was actually really funny too.
it was. It was hilarious.
But
I remember when we would have been in what, middle school when this came out.
fourth grade, I think.
Yeah. I remember we saw that we'd be joking about that guy. We didn't know like
Yeah,
we didn't understand half the stuff with
right.
like all the drugs and stuff he was doing.
We
But
used to go up to each other and say, "I play the role of the Mandarin,"
yeah,
back
we
and
would
forth.
joke about it all the time. It was hilarious,
Yeah,
even then. And now watching it back, it's hilarious. There's the thing where he's watching soccer, and Brody's got the gun aimed up to him. Um, his accent is just hilarious. But yeah,
one thing I
it's
will say about
really
that,
cool.
even though I do support the Mandarin twist, is that the videos, like these terrorist videos, they don't they don't hold up. Like when I was thinking
Really.
about those before I saw the movie, I was like, oh yeah, there are these like really scary, really dark videos. And then when I was watching them in the movie, I'm like, these aren't really good.
Yeah, they scared us
They
in
were kind of
fourth
like
grade.
cheesy,
But
but like, and I
especially
mean,
I will say the fortune cookie one, but I like that
yeah,
one a lot in particular.
I wasn't a fan of that. And I mean, it makes sense like once you
Starts
know
with
the
the crushing.
twist.
Right.
However, I don't know if like someone who was seeing this for the first time, like I don't know how that would.
Right. Especially so on the nose. He starts and he crushes the fortune
Yeah,
cookie.
it was a bit much.
Yeah, but it's cool, like you said, when you see the twist because all those stories are and all those videos are covers up for these accidental bombings,
Right.
right? It, one of the extremist guys blows up at a Chinese restaurant. Let's make a terrorist video. And when you look back at it, it makes sense. But like you said, a first time viewing when you're not in fourth grade and terrified of this guy, um, yeah, I could see that for sure. But I guess that would be a good segue to talk about the villain because that's one of the most complained about things. That it's basically a ripoff of The Incredibles where you wrong someone in the past and they come back and um, want to ruin their life or whatever. Um, I'm not going to say that's wrong. It's an apt comparison, but I think it works. And for Tony, especially where he's changed so much
Mm.
since he like was in that flashback, he's not the same person he was anymore. Yeah, he still has the same, way he carries himself, but he's not that guy anymore. So while he's dealing with this PTSD aspect, he's also dealing with like his past in that way where, he used to be a complete asshole to everyone. I don't think he would have, told Aldrich Killian to meet him on the roof and left him
Yeah,
there
abandoned him.
after
Yeah.
like the Avengers movies and stuff. That's just, I don't know. Maybe he just would have, ignored him or said something quippy and let him go, but he wouldn't have done anything like that. That just kind of shows just another aspect of who he was and who he is now.
Yeah.
There's just so much. I'm trying not to go down too many rabbit holes. The action is amazing in Iron Man 3. Um, from like I said earlier, that set piece at the beginning to all the kind of makeshift Iron Man escapes and whatnot when he's at a bar and he's getting the file from one of the bomb victims mothers. He gets handcuffed by one of the extremist people who's undercover, and he goes into like the shop next door, and he is able to get the handcuffs off, and he puts the dog tag in the microwave, and he does all these really inventive things once again that we wouldn't see if he was just suited up as Iron Man,
Right.
which are really cool because you get to see him thinking on the fly. All right, put the gasoline down, she walks into it, it catches on fire, put the dog tags in the microwave, stuff like that. So there's those type of fight scenes. Then you have another one of my favorites is when he's strapped to the bed, another perfect comedical moment. He's strapped up to the bed frame, and he's waiting for the Mark 42 suit to come, and you got the two guys, and he calls one of them Ponytail Express, which is hilarious. um, and he's counting down, and then eventually the suit comes, and he only has like one boot and one handpiece, and he's like fighting them all off. Just a very inventive thing. Once again, wouldn't see in a normal Iron Man movie. Um, Additionally, my all-time favorite set piece of Iron Man 3 is the house party protocol. At the end, all of Tony's suits all come in. They're all remotely controlled by Jarvis, and they're all flying around. They're all taking down all the different extremist people. You get to see all the little flares he adds to each suit. Some of them have, he has the really big ones. He has the stealthy ones. Some have like hidden blades, all different stuff like that. Um, Tony's end battle with Aldrich Killian is amazing. The way that it was shot and the way that he went through these suits so quickly. Killian would destroy one and then he'd jump into another one, and it was just shot really well and everything like that. Yeah, Iron Man 3. Before I do my closing statement, actually, I do need to point out one thing. Now, Iron Man 3 is also prosecuted and dragged through the mud for its infamous quote unquote plot hole, and I'm about to fill that plot hole right before
Oh
your
wow.
eyes. There's a famous plot hole in Iron Man 3 in which the president of the United States, oh, that's another scene I didn't even mention because there's just so many good ones, is when they're falling out of the plane and he catches
Oh yeah.
everyone. Great sequence. That was practical. The stunt actors actually jumped out of a plane. I saw it on the bonus features. Anyways, so where was I before I got excited about the plane? Oh, right, the plot hole. The president is in the Iron Patriot suit, and he's not able to use it. But then when Rhodey gets back in the Iron Patriot suit, he's able to fly away. Biggest plot hole everyone states. Now, there's a few things this can be attributed to. Moments earlier, Rhodey requests that Tony gives him a suit. He says, no, it's only coded to me. Now, you might be thinking, one of the extremist henchmen was able to use the suit earlier in the film. During that part when they're trying to get Rhodey out of the suit, they are doing work on the suit. They're hacking into it. The people at AIM are smart. They can't build an Iron Man suit, but they can mess with one. So if they didn't code the president in to the Iron Patriot suit, they coded the other henchman into the Iron Patriot suit so he could fly it up to into the plane and pose as the Iron Patriot when he's in there. Then, since it would obviously already be coded to Rhodey, he was able to fly away with it. So there you go. Plot hole filled. Boom, roasted.
Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you. Um, it was rumored around this time that RDJ, um, it was going to be his last Iron Man film and his last portrayal as Iron Man. And the film kind of shows that. You can see it a lot where he destroys all his suits and he throws his arc, he gets the arc reactor out of his chest and all that type of stuff. But I think it works in that movie as a standalone movie of Iron Man 3, especially because it did show flashbacks to the Avengers movie. So, like, you see that whole cycle, and it almost makes it even more sad that he's like, in Age of Ultron, he builds his suits again. It's like an alcoholic, like they come back to it,
Yeah,
and he
relapse.
gets rid of it for now, right? And he relapses, and he kind of makes Iron Man suits. And then in Infinity War, you even hear, or in Civil War, he's even saying, "Well, the truth is, I don't want to stop." And then in Infinity War, he's talking about just one more surprise, or that was an Endgame.
That
He's
was it.
just,
Yeah.
one more time, just this one last mission, and
Speaking of
that's just part of it.
alcoholics, they did work
Yes,
in the demon in the bottle story
absolutely.
very well, I thought, for
Yeah,
a Disney movie.
yeah. Like you said, I do think it's the most adult MCU movie, and I think that's why I like it so much. You feel the heart. It's like you said, it's got everything a Marvel movie has. It's funny. The writing's good.
Jarvis was really funny in it, I thought
Jarvis
too.
was very funny in it, and it's sad because we don't really see Jarvis anymore now
I
that
know.
he's Vision. But yeah, he's really great. Harley's really funny the way he, is able to take off Tony. Overall, this movie isn't as flashy as all the other, or as some of the other MCU movies. At the end of the Winter Soldier, you have these helicarriers that are all crashing down, and they could have killed people all over the earth. Thor: The Dark World, you have Malekith about to take over Earth or something like that.
Who
You know,
remembers that movie?
Guardians of the Galaxy, the Power Stones about to destroy an entire Earth. Tony, it is the president. Don't get me wrong. There's still stakes in the movie, but the story itself feels so much more focused on the character instead of this big overlooming threat. It's so much more personal, and I
Hmm.
think that's what works so well. Bottom line is when you take away Iron Man suits, he's still Iron Man, and taking away his suits was ultimately the best decision that I think the story could have made. And I think that is what makes the film top 5. The fact that it is a Tony Stark story and not an Iron Man story is what places it in as a top 5 MCU movie for me. I don't think there's many films in the MCU that go as far with the character as this one. And I think that is all I have to say, unless you have anything else about Iron Man 3, and I can add on a little bit. But I think that covers most of the bases. So,
Yeah. You did mention the how it's similar to the Incredibles, how like Tony Stark like created his villain.
hmm
Um, but again, like watching all of the MCU, like with Spider-Man Far From Home, and seeing how Tony Stark basically made Mysterio and all of these other people
and
that,
Vulture.
yeah, and that they all like hated Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It adds to that story once
Yeah.
you see the bigger picture.
Yeah. A lot of people hated him.
So that complaint, that flaw, it's not a
Yeah.
flaw at all. I think it
Exactly.
enhances the entire MCU.
I agree. I think that having it be a personalized villain like that is much better than a Malekith just showing up, you
Oh
know,
God, that's, yeah,
or
infinitely better.
yeah, or even better than, some of the things in Ant-Man and the Wasp that had multiple villains, but some of them were just there, you know. And well, especially with like the first Ant-Man with Yellow Jacket, it didn't feel as personal.
Right. All
All
right.
right.
It's
I think
time.
that sums it up. It is time to go to the DC universe.
Nice. I don't know if you, well, this is a podcast, so you can't really see it, but Derek just spun his hat around and it
I got
has
the
the Flash
Flash
logo on the front. So while simultaneously drinking an
on
Infinity
my
Gauntlet
Infinity
mug.
Gauntlet mug. Yeah.
All right. Before I start, Derek, what did you think of Batman vs.
Oh,
Superman?
all right. So I definitely have my problems with Batman versus Superman, but the action is amazing. And by I retroactively like this movie more because of Justice League.
Oh
Seeing
yeah.
how bad that was, I'm like, all right, well, if that was that, then the writing's not that bad. There's some things that were just hard for me to accept in that movie. I know you said you had a rebuttal about the whole Martha thing. I
We'll
don't
get to
like
that.
I can't do the bats lifting them out of the hole. I can't do that.
I'll touch upon that as well.
There's a few just stuff like that that kind of I was like, I don't know. Like Superman, couldn't Wonder Woman have just grabbed the kryptonite spear and just gone for it? Like it's just little things throughout the movie.
Well, she was holding him with her lasso.
Oh,
That's
that's true.
why.
That's true.
So right there, boom,
All right, you
complaint
got me.
squashed.
You got
You
me.
love the movie now? Do you like
I
it? Do you
can't I
like?
can't wait till hear how you explain the bats carrying him out of the hole. But
All right. Well, we'll get to that later.
fine. All right, yeah. Lastly, I
Oh,
love the action, but and I did like Batman for the most part, but he was a little too, with the guns and the, branding people and stuff like that. That was a little, especially the branding people, that was a little, I don't know, off-putting. Maybe it's just that, I understand that version of Batman is like an aged Batman. He's been through a lot of stuff, and you see that with the jokes on you. I think it's on a Robin costume, right?
mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You see that he's like a seasoned Batman and he's been through stuff, but that's kind of weird for the first movie we see him. But it's like I was saying, it's nothing huge. I still enjoyed the movie. I'm still able to sit down, watch it, and enjoy it. And that's more than I can say for almost all the other DCEU movies. So um, I liked it. It's just little things throughout that kind of messed it up for me. I've never seen the Ultimate Edition,
I was
so
just about to
maybe
ask you that.
someday I can sit down, especially after you explain to me some of these things. Maybe you can change my mind, and maybe I can sit down, watch the Ultimate Edition, and enjoy it like you do. But we'll see. Let's hear what you have to say.
All right. So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a DCEU defender. Like I don't think they do any wrong. They do. Justice League. Not even going to talk about that. Suicide Squad. Not going to talk about that. Just makes me mad. Aquaman. I didn't like it. I thought it was incredibly boring. Wonder Woman, wasn't a huge fan. I love Shazam.
I actually liked the Wonder Woman movie until the third act, but
Yeah, it
Roman
was
fell
just like
asleep
Black
during
Panther.
Aquaman. Roman fell asleep during Aquaman when we went to see it.
I think I dozed off a little bit too. It was during the trenches scene. And I heard that they're going to make that its own movie. That's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What? The
The
trenches?
trenches. Yep.
Oh goodness.
Oh God. I don't know. And Birds of Prey, it was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. But the DCEU, it's made its mistakes. But I think by far Batman vs Superman is its crowning jewel.
Yeah.
So with Iron Man 3, I like when movies are original. They keep you guessing and they keep you surprised.
Iron Man 3's
Batman
got it.
3, what did you
Batman
say?
vs Superman. Iron Man 3's got that. Batman vs Superman got that.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Um, it has its own story. I mean, it's adapted from The Dark Knight Returns, but Batman's motivations are different. Superman's motivations are different,
Yes.
and Lex Luthor's involved. Um, and I know like a lot of people in the Ultimate Edition, it makes the movie a lot better. I like the theatrical version, but I love the Ultimate Edition.
I have
A lot of
really
people
good
were
issues
complaining
there.
like, "Oh, it's too long." Like, look, if you sat through Endgame, not that I'm not dissing Endgame at all.
Whoa.
That's my top 5 favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, check out episode 1.
Exactly. See, that was the plug. So
Hmm.
that was planned.
I see.
Um, no, I love it's the runtime. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. Um, but it explains a lot with the theatrical version. Do you remember the whole like side story about like the bullet in Lois Lane's journal?
No.
Exactly. Because in the movie that was just like there, but in the Ultimate Edition they explain so much more. It's not a completely different movie, but it definitely makes the movies infinitely better.
Yeah. That's very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see the Snyder cut for the same reasons.
Yes. See, if Warner Brothers, if they just let Zack Snyder do his thing, his story made sense. They took his Ultimate Edition, they cut it down, made it worse, fired him from Justice League, brought in Joss Whedon, who just butchered it. So I said in my little thesis statement that it's better than most of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's due to the originality, the music, basically all my reasons here. But one of my biggest complaints about the MCU is that a lot of the movies, they just look ugly. And this isn't with Iron Man 3. I thought Iron Man 3 looked a lot better than
Iron
most of
Man
the
3's a good
MCU's.
looking one.
But if you look at like the Avengers movie, the first one, it looks like a TV show. There's no color grading at all. It looks
Yeah,
gross.
the color's really bad. Civil War, I think, has some of the worst color grading I've ever seen. That
It's yeah.
it looks like they tried to like gray it out. It looks really bad. If you look at Iron Man, I guess
Yeah,
I just look
you
at
don't
Iron
like
Man a lot.
the
No,
maroon color of
I
the
don't
suit.
mind it in some of the movies, but it was way too maroon in that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything was just so gray. It doesn't
Mm.
have to be. Even Justice League didn't make everything gray.
Oh God, that was Joss Whedon again.
Yeah.
He thought he could do what he did with the Avengers, which is one of the biggest complaints, and he just did that to Justice League.
Yeah.
I thought the color in Batman vs Superman is awesome. Um, there's so many shots with like Superman and like his heat vision and the way the red just glows. It's so good. Now, the greatest thing about Batman vs Superman is Batman. I said before that Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. I've been rewatching the Dark Knight trilogy, which, by the way, amazing. And I'm not sure if he's my favorite Batman. He's either my favorite or my second favorite.
Oh, Bale's got it for me.
Bale was amazing, but there are so many little things. And again, like this was his first movie, and like there are little things like at the Fight Club when this fighter's getting like knocked around, he's about to lose, and not Batman, Bruce Wayne whispers something in the fighter's ear, like, "Oh, go for his left side" or something.
Right.
And within like 3 hits, the guy knocks the other guy out.
That was really cool.
Stuff like that. And the whole interaction with him and Clark at that gala
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. The
Yeah.
way he like pretended that he was this, asshole rich billionaire playboy. He acted like Tony Stark,
Yeah.
even though he's not.
No.
But the way he can put on like this fake persona so effortlessly was
Yeah.
amazing. And like
And
you said about the seasoned Batman, like he's had practice at this. And it was so fun to see him as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
yeah, that was acted out very well. Like you
Yes.
said, like it's transformation. Yeah.
Ben Affleck as Batman, he's a scary dude. He is big.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is a Batman. Like in the first scene, you see Batman, you look, and he's like in this friggin' corner, like an actual bat, and he scurries across the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's scary. Like if I was a cop, I would shoot him. And he's the type of Batman that criminals would run away from. He's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. And I think I will say about the suit, I really like that bat suit.
I did too.
Not so much the big armored up one, but just like, and not so much the one with the goggles from Justice League,
No,
but
just the gray one, right?
yeah, the gray. It's very comic booky, but it looks really cool. Ben
Yeah.
Affleck has the build for it, and it looked really cool.
Now, no matter whether you hate this movie, love this movie, same thing with the music. If you asked anyone what is the best part about Batman vs Superman, I guarantee you at least 9 out of 10 people would say the warehouse fight. The warehouse fight is so incredible. It's like that Batman was just ripped straight from the Arkham games.
Yeah,
He's jumping over people, he double punches someone. The fight scene is so fluid, and it's not like cut, 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 cut.
yeah,
It's fluid. You can tell what's happening, and it's so smooth. And again, with the seasoned Batman, you can tell that he knows what he's doing.
oh yeah.
It's such a good scene.
The way
And
he moves is just so
yeah,
cool.
oh my god, the way he punches that guy's head like into the ground,
Yeah,
it's so good.
yeah.
Now, another one of the big complaints. There's a lot of complaints about this movie.
Yeah,
was Lex Luthor, portrayed by Jesse Eisenberg. And I said this when I first walked out of the theater. I loved the villain. I loved Jesse Eisenberg's villain. To me, it was not Lex Luthor.
I agree. I think he was a terrible Lex Luthor.
But the thing with like the MCU is that there haven't really been any Iron Man movies or Captain America movies aside from the MCU.
Hmm.
With DC, you've had Superman movies since the 70s. You've
Yeah,
had two different kinds of Lex Luthors. This is the third one.
right.
So it's fine in my book to make him quirky and make him different than
Okay.
all the others.
All right. Yeah, we saw the only example in the MCU would be Spider-Man, really. And you
Right,
see the
yeah.
backlash there with some people, you know. There's always going to be people who want the old versions. But I feel like for me, he was almost even too far away from like the comic book version for me. But
I feel like again, if they let Zack Snyder finish his vision,
yeah.
in Justice League, he was actually that post-credit scene. He was
Yeah.
supposed to be in the movie.
Yeah, I would like to see where that went with him and Deathstroke and
Exactly. He was the most like Lex Luthor in that post-credit scene. And
yeah.
in all honesty, the bald head, it
Mhm.
helps a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the way he was with the suit and the yacht, it was great.
Yeah. The suit and the and then also I feel like where it shows us a seasoned veteran Batman, it almost shows us a early days Lex Luthor. And I feel like if we saw him continue, like you said, with the suit and the yacht, and maybe you'd eventually
The
get the
yacht.
big exosuit,
Yeah.
like I could see that version of Lex Luthor getting to like where I would be more comfortable with him being. I feel like it is kind of weird how they do that with the DCEU. They have like a newer Flash, an older Batman.
Yeah.
You have like they kind of jump around a little bit, which is
Hmm.
okay, but we don't
It was a
really
little
see anything before it. That's
right.
the issue.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought Jesse Eisenberg, his portrayal as, whoever he was going for, I thought it was great. And you
Yeah.
can see like shades of what Lex Luthor would eventually be. Like during
Yeah,
his
that's what I'm
speech,
saying.
he kind of has like a little bit of a nervous breakdown because he has this, just like Batman, he has this persona that, he's all smiles, but under the surface, he's like insane. And I really like that aspect of the character.
The
And I
PJR scene. Is that what you're talking about?
that was funny. I like that. That was actually, I think, the scene in the Capitol. That was one of the most well done scenes in the movie. Like from a directing standpoint, the
Yeah.
way like they were kind of building up to that moment where like Superman is to be judged,
Yeah.
like the whole first half of the movie, and then the way she slowly just turns the jar, and you
Hmm.
can tell that something's off, and Superman looks and realizes at the last second, and then boom. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Now, uh, well, I'm gonna skip over this part. I feel like I'm going on a little bit too long, but it's a very deep movie. Has a lot of deep themes. It asks a lot of questions. Like, if there was a Superman, of course we would try and like contain him and make him abide
Yeah.
by our laws. It makes perfect sense. And the
Yeah.
thing with Zack Snyder's Superman is that he's trying to make him human. So that's why people are like, oh, it's too dark. It's too dark. It's not the Superman we know. Like again, we've had two other Supermans. You have the animated Supermans. If you don't like the Superman, go watch all the other ones.
I
Like
actually
this
really
is,
like Cavill's Superman,
yeah,
and like Cavill and Snyder's Superman.
he makes a lot of mistakes and he's trying to learn like his place in the world.
Hmm.
So that's my answer to that.
I would love to see a Man of Steel too.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some hope for that. After Henry Cavill, he has a very like loyal fan base,
Hmm.
so I think they could announce that at DC Fandom.
Perhaps.
Time will tell. But here we are, the Martha scene. This is like the number one complaint of the whole movie.
Hmm.
And at first, I actually don't remember my reaction. I think I heard of that before I saw the movie, so it didn't really like, I wasn't like throwing my popcorn
You
going
are
like,
like,
what the hell is
what?
this? This is
Yeah.
stupid. So I get it. It made sense to me. And it wasn't like, oh my God, he has the same name as my mom. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, up you go.
Right.
Sorry, I tried to kill you. It wasn't that. It was the fact that Superman was about to die. Batman was about to murder him. But in his final breaths, he wasn't like, please don't kill me. He was begging for someone else's life. Again, showing how human he was.
Right.
And it wasn't only that, it was his mom's name.
Yeah.
So he says, please save Martha. And Batman thinks he's like making fun of him, or it's like a trick or something. So
Yeah.
that's like, why did you say that name? And then it's only until Lois comes over and says it's his mother's name. We kind of like, he snaps back to reality and thinks like, okay, this is, so not only is this guy not an evil dude, but he, like, do I really want to put him through the same situation that I've been through? Batman lost his Martha. She's gone. She's dead. Goodbye. And he didn't want to cause that pain to somebody else. I think that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah. I like that. I like what you're saying, but
Hmm. You didn't get that from the
I
movie?
didn't get that from just watching it. I guess now that I think about it, it comes across more clearly, but I don't know.
And I mean,
If
like, they
there
started
was
the whole movie with the Waynes being killed and
right.
Martha. And by the way, the pearls on her
That was
necklace,
really well done.
that was
I hope we
beautiful.
get Jeffrey Dean Morgan in a Flashpoint
Yeah,
movie as like a crazy flash as a
he,
crazy Batman.
he would be great.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole thing about Batman killing, I think that helps this moment so much because he's been murdering people left and right.
Mm-hmm.
But Superman, before he murders Superman, like, he's begging for another life. And I think not only does that show how human Superman is, it kind of makes Batman think about like where he is in life. And
Yeah.
Justice League was a steaming hot pile of garbage. But there is one line in the movie that I like when Bruce says that he was more human than me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That was good.
The whole reason
Um.
that Batman kills is that he's seasoned. You know, he lost Robin. He's in a very dark place. And
Right.
Superman was supposed to inspire him to be the Batman that he was and, do good, and you don't have
Yeah.
to kill.
Right. And I also feel like that sold it more. Like he's been killing people this whole time. So, maybe he will kill Superman. If
Yeah.
he was that Batman with that strict no killing rule, and then he has this spear up to Superman, it was like he's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But after he's dropping bodies left and right, it's like, yeah, like he's gonna kill Superman.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the whole thing with like Superman sacrificing himself, like it Superman inspired this Batman to be a better Batman.
Right. Which
That
I
was
would have
my
liked to
takeaway
see
from the
more of
movie.
going forward, but unfortunately all we saw him in was Justice League. So
Thank God for the Snyder cut. I
I
can't
know
wait for that.
that's
All
gonna
right,
be
so
good.
that's kind of my
You didn't talk about
why
the
I love
bats.
the bats.
I want to hear.
I don't think that was meant. Thank you for reminding me, by the way. I don't
Yeah.
think that was meant to be taken literally. I feel like that was more symbolic.
You don't think that actually happened?
God, no, no,
I mean, you never know.
no. The way I interpreted it is like the bats lifted him up and gave him a purpose. So it
Right.
wasn't like, they're
Literally.
super bats and they lifted him up. I thought that was more
No.
of a
I.
artistic, symbolic
Yeah.
way to show that. And again, like, they didn't go through his whole origin story. There was no Thomas Wayne to like pull down a rope and say like, why do we fall, Bruce? There was none of that. So to speed through that, it just basically showed bats lifting him up to say like, he's gonna be Batman.
I get it. I see how. I see the symbolism and everything. I
Mm.
just don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
guess it
mean,
just didn't work for me.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's not gonna work for everybody, but it worked for me, and I think people, if you haven't seen the Ultimate Edition, go watch it. There's a lot of really good scenes, and again with the branding, that was all like part of Lex Luthor's plan. Like, he had his guys murder the people with the bat brands on it to try and vilify Batman.
Right.
And it goes into more of like Clark's investigation, where he kind of
Oh, really? Is more of that in the Ultimate Edition? Because I didn't
there
get
is more of
that.
that. Yeah, you got like none of that in the theatrical version. He goes around Gotham and like he sees the fear, and there's like these newspaper headlines of like, oh, the bat brand means that you're gonna die. So that just kind of, and another big complaint was that and this is my last point, I'll wrap this up. But was that, like, when Batman was like, he had his plan to kill Superman. Superman was like walking towards him and said, "Bruce, you need to stop." Like, it's Lex Luthor, and then like he was getting shot at. People were like, "Oh, why didn't he try and like talk to him?" Superman was mad at Batman. He wanted to shut him down. Batman was thinking, from Superman's eyes, Batman was thinking that he's like a higher power in a way,
Mhm.
which is interesting because Superman's the godlike one. And with everything that Clark has seen and the fear of the people of Gotham,
Right.
Clark wasn't really looking forward to having a conversation with Batman.
Right.
So, and he was, I mean, when you're getting shot at, even if you're Superman, I mean, it can't feel great. So,
Yeah, I mean, for normal people, it doesn't feel great physically, but it can't feel
right.
great emotionally for
Yeah.
Superman to
And
be.
Batman wouldn't even listen to him. He's like, I understand. And then even when he wouldn't even listen to Superman, so he just chucked him. If you have not seen the Ultimate Edition, watch that. It is
I'll
so much better.
I'll do it.
And yeah, I think Batman vs Superman, not only is it a great movie, it does what the MCU wouldn't do. It's darker, it's more original. It's it's not it doesn't follow a formula. It's its own thing. It didn't want to copy the MCU and have standalone movie, even though maybe that's what it should have done.
Probably could have benefited from it.
It probably would have. But I mean, credit to Zack Snyder for trying to just get it going and trying to be different. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Awesome. So I guess as a closing statement overall would be, you know, even though like on the internet and stuff, you'll see a lot of movies almost canceled by the majority of people who just don't like it, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe just like give stuff a chance and, make your own opinion about it.
Hmm.
There's definitely two sides to every movie. If you like a movie, don't be afraid to talk about it if everyone else hates it. Um, yeah, I think that's that. You can definitely see with both of these films that the directors took risks. Um, Iron Man 3 could have just been another Iron Man movie where he has the suit, a bad guy pops up and he takes him down. That's not to discredit Iron Man 1 and 2. Love those movies. Iron Man 2 did juggle a lot of plot points and I think that was cool. But and with Batman v Superman, I mean, they could have gone for the Batman and Superman that everyone knows and loves, where Superman's the symbolic hero and Batman doesn't kill anyone and whatnot. But they took risks, and I think we can appreciate that. Any closing thoughts, Matt?
No, I like what you said. You summed that up nicely.
Thank you. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the other 3 episodes of the Exactly Entertainment podcast. We ranked some movies, TV shows, and talked about some fan casting for the MCU. So if any of those topics interest you, definitely check those out. You can tell us what you think about these 2 movies on Twitter. And that is that. Thanks for watching.